name is Rod, with a D, Rod Taylor. You're going to see my lovely wife, the brains of the operation here momentarily. She's going to be doing a little gardening, and she's going to come into the yard when we go to meet the dogs. So there are two reasons, really. One is you folks. We have close to 10,000 people from Holland, America, if you can imagine, come to meet our dogs. This fella here, his name is Junior. Junior was on the Rookie of the Year's Quest team about 6 years ago. He's an old bucker now. He's about 12 years old. And the guys that were walking around there that may or may not have come up to introduce themselves, these are all dogs that are retired that have worked with us, but my wife can't part with. We adopt out all the dogs when they get too old. I'll get to that in a second. But these are guys, for whatever reason, she can't part with. If she had her way, there'd be 52 dogs on the outside of that pen, and there'd be 4 on the inside. There are 6 or 7 of them right now. They all sleep on our bed, if you can imagine anything so absurd in your life. We also have a 5-year-old daughter, so between all of them, I get a tiny little space for the bed. Anyway, Junior loves to sleep on the bed, and he's a sweet guy. He's a little bit shy, but pet any of those guys. You can really see he's molting. You can see that fur coming out now. We're collecting the fur for the oil spill. We're sending it down. We're getting bags of it right now. We're sending it down for these dog hair booms they're making, so it's kind of neat. Anyway, we have these dogs in the summertime for you folks, but in the wintertime really is sort of why we came here in the first place. This is 15 years ago. And people come from all over the world to learn how to dog sled here. In fact, they come from, you know, Bangkok to Barcelona. Those are the free dogs that are running around. There's a female in heat in the pen. And if you take a look, when you go back there to the pen, look at the back of it. This sort of screen that you see, the screen on that particular pen is called predator fence, because the puppies are in there, and so it needs to be really strong, so a wolf or whatever couldn't get in. And it's welded and it's twisted, and so it's made to keep a wolf out, right? If you look at the back of it, you'll see right about at a level at about 2 feet high, those little 2x4-inch rectangles are round, because the male dogs that are free have been trying to get in there so badly that they're pushing their muzzle in and scarring themselves, pressing this thing open. In fact, it's hilarious. You'll see them sometimes, so they'll press, and then they'll sit down, and I know that they're saying, okay, abracadabra, no, Shazam, no, there's got to be a way to get in there. And of course, the girl is saying, try harder, think faster. It doesn't work, unfortunately, but they're in there because we have a very specific breeding program, and there's a female named Kettle. We don't want her to be bred, so that's why she's there. Anyway, back to these guys. So these people come from all over the world to learn how to dog sled. I've read that term already 50 million times. I can now tell you, you've paid your money, so I can tell you the truth. We prostitute that term. In fact, we made it up a long time ago, Jack London and all that stuff, you know, to lure you up here from the lower 48. And now that you're here, I tell you the truth, it's another word for Heinz 57. They're a bunch of mutts, right? It's the biggest bunch of mutts in the history of the world. In fact, if you look in that dog yard right now, despite the fact that individually all the dogs are quite beautiful, you know, in their own way, they're like my kids, so I obviously have bias. Running, range of running, so they start on day 1. By day 10, their intervals, how quickly they're running, it's getting worse, right? They're getting more tired, the lactic acid is building up, the residual lactic acid is staying in the system, blah, blah, blah. With these dogs, this explains why on the Iditarod, one of the things the vets could never figure out is the well-trained teams ramped up their aerobic endurance. So the intervals of these dogs running on the last day is actually faster than the first day. And the reason is that this lactic acid, for them, is like glucose or glycogen for us. The same fuel that we would burn if you have a chocolate bar and that gets you going, this lactic acid is like a chocolate bar for these dogs. And that's why they end up being so incredibly fit. They, all the way down to the poor schmuck that cleans the poop, that's me. We all know where we are on the ladder, right? So the caveat to that is, the only way they can establish this hierarchy is if they're allowed to interact all the time. Because they're all like 8-year-old boys. And if you watch them, they're constantly giving the other guy an elbow and looking at him as if to say, you think today's the day you're going to move up over my rung in the ladder? Bring it on, brother, right? I'm ready to go. So what we do is 2 things. A, we let them overlap. Because you can imagine, I'm going to pick on Robert again, if Robert's chain only goes to there, what do I care? We call it fence fighting. If you ever watch Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer, the TV show, he talks about fence fighting all the time. So we're going to fence fight. But if Robert's chain goes here, I'm like, so, Robert, you like soccer, you like football, let's talk, let's make this work. Because you have to. Because eventually you can't have a neighbor that you're always afraid he's going to bite you in the butt. You got to make it work. So when we get 2 dogs that we think don't like each other, we do the exact counterintuitive thing to what you would think most people would do. We put them in houses right next to each other, and then we lengthen their chains by yet another foot. So now I know that Robert's chain goes somewhere way back there. I really have to make it work, right? Because I'm always going to be on edge. So that's the first thing we do. The second thing we do, this is the other reason why we're the Club Med for dogs, the dogs here every day get off the chains. They don't have to hang out on the chains all the time, and that's what all those corrals are about. When you walked in, when you drove in, you saw there were a couple of dogs. That's at Denali. Day after day, how can I put this? Women fall in love with Herschel. Let's cut to the chase. He's beautiful. He's got these big eyes. They walk in. I can see her. She's just behind her house. She's just walking around now. All the dogs have the names on it. Her ones looks like a Coca-Cola label. Anyway, she's this tiny little brown dog. She's the smallest dog in the yard. She's the cutest, cuddliest. You know, you think she's just a puppy, but she's a nut. Because she grew up in a litter of 12 puppies, and she was the smallest, and it meant she had to fight for the milk every day of her life. And because of that, she gets this Napoleon complex, for lack of a better word. So when we give the bones out, 3 weeks ago, we were giving the bones out, and we let her free. Because it allows Cocla to run around and just reestablish her dominance and all the other female dogs. Like any corporation, it runs better when everybody knows that there's a leader, right? Everybody knows who's in charge. You know, if you can imagine this, she ran up to Herschel, the biggest dog in the yard, and she grabbed his bone out of his mouth. And he stood there as if to say, I'm not worthy. Come on, Robert. Just like... Force them back into the, yeah, it's amazing to watch. I mean, look at her, she looks like she's almost sucked, like she's a nut.
Hey.
Lap dog. Exactly, that's right.
So you the boss?
She's the boss. Hard to believe.
Hard worker. Hard worker.
Our daughter has in the past, and the key is that they're all female, so you can remember.
Look at Ray.
This is
This is
chairman.
the sweetest cat.
Yeah.